Hari Om. It is my pleasure to bring you the experience of Nitin Jagdale, who at the time of this experience had been with Bapu for about a decade and a half. He is a resident of Vadodara, and this experience involves his young daughter Aditi Jagdale, who at the time of this experience was only about 2 years old. On one May evening, Nitin Jagdale and his family decided to go out for dinner. When they returned, the husband and wife were in one room and the daughter was playing in some other room. And on one instant, about 11 or so at night, the daughter, Aditi, she comes to Nitin and requests him to accompany her to the washroom where she could relieve herself because she had to urinate herself. And toddlers that age need some help. This is when Nitin realized that Aditi had been playing with a button. The button had come off the dress that she was wearing, and she was playing with that, and in that entire act of playing with that button, she was also putting it in her mouth and taking it out. And when Nitin took her to the washroom, he put that button on the wash basin and helped her daughter relieve herself. And when he came back, he didn't realize, but Aditi had picked up that button from the wash basin itself. Then the husband and wife were back in the room that they were settled in, and the daughter started playing again, and suddenly Nitin and his wife, they heard this scream. Not a scream per se, but the child called out to them. And Aditi had apparently, and that's what she said, she just started speaking around that time, and that's when she said that the button had actually gone into her nose. Nitin and his wife were frantic. It was a large button, and it went into her nose. And they were actually scared. But then they realized that because she had started speaking some time back, she was in this habit of repeating one thing over and over again. And as per their experience, a lot of the times the things that she would say were not actually real. So they thought this could be one of those moments, but they didn't want to take a chance. So they actually tried and touch her nose from the top slightly and see if they could feel something, but there was nothing. And the daughter, Aditi, was also not in pain. She wasn't complaining of pain. She just kept saying that the button has gone into my nose, the button has gone into my nose. It was a time that not many doctors would have been available, and she wasn't in apparent pain. So the parents decided that they would apply Udi on a whole body, and they would see what the status is in the morning, or if things got worse during the night, then they would take her to the emergency room. Sure enough, nothing happened in the night. She got up in the morning. The parents found nothing, no sort of discomfort on the daughter, and life continued as usual. And 15 days passed, absolutely no complaints. Aditi was fine. The parents didn't see anything abnormal in her behavior or activities. She slept well, she ate well, everything was in order. This is when Nitin's parents, they came over to Baroda from their native place in Nandurbar, and they stayed with them for about 15-20 days. So for a month, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. Aditi was fine. And then Nitin's parents, Aditi's grandparents, they decided to take Aditi and the daughter of Nitin's brother, both of them, to their native place, because it was summers, it was vacation for most people, and they took them to Nandurbar. It was monsoon time, and the first showers happened in Nandurbar. And both these little girls, Aditi and her cousin, they loved playing in the rain. So they insisted on their grandparents to allow them to go and play in the rain. The grandmother did not approve of it. She did not. But the grandfather said that, look, they're children. They like playing in the rain. Allow them to go and play. It would do them no harm. So the rain was in the afternoon, and by evening, both the young girls, they had developed some cold. Right? So they were sneezing, they had blocked noses, they were coughing. It wasn't anything alarming, but yes, they were slightly unwell. In the morning again, they got up, and by that time, the cold had worsened slightly. It wasn't a shocking state of affairs, but it had worsened slightly. And Aditi had started coughing more, and she started sneezing. And during that act of sneezing, once when she sneezed, the grandparents, to their surprise and shock, they noticed that a red color button was hanging somewhere just at the opening of the nostrils. And they got scared. They could not find any button there that she would have been playing it with around that time, not on the sofa, not around where the children were. And in a state of panic, they called up Nitin. And Nitin said, yes, she had complained. She had said that a button had gone into her nose, but we couldn't get anything. We couldn't find that button in the household. It was missing, but she was absolutely okay. So we didn't really know if it had actually entered her nose. And it was actually a red colored button. And that is when they realized that this button, and which according to Nitin's own submission, was not a small button. It was a fairly large button, and for the small nose of a 2-year-old, it was a large button. That button was in her nose for over a month, and there was absolutely no discomfort. Life went on as usual. When she returned to Baroda, the parents took her to the doctor. The doctor did all the checkup, and when the parents told the doctor that, look, this button was there in her nose, she complained of it, she had no pain, no discomfort, absolutely no indication of anything wrong in her body, and the doctor said, this is impossible. Impossible that a button this size went up her nose and there was absolutely no discomfort. He refused to believe it. And that is when Nitin realized that there is only one person who could do this. There's only one personality who could make this happen. And that is Bapu. Not once did he pray to Bapu, because there was absolutely no discomfort. There was no reason to pray. The Udi worked. She had absolutely no discomfort. She came out of this calamity absolutely hale and hearty. The medical practitioner could not believe it. He said it is impossible. Science says something like this is impossible. But then Nitin and his family went through it. They experienced what they did. And therefore Nitin says that when it comes to spirituality, science also has to give way at times. In fact, Bapu himself says that spirituality and science are the two sides of the same coin. One cannot exist without the other. That is the experience of Nitin Jagdale of Baroda and his young daughter Aditi, who was saved a great calamity, all because of the wonderful grace of Bapu himself. Hari Om, Shri Ram, Ambagya, Natha Sampit.